Welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist. I own 52 units of real estate and I help coach people to buy their first multifamily deal. So today I want to share a prompt that I asked ChatGPT about my financial situation. So you can kind of see my prompt up here, but I own $5 million in real estate equity and $2 million in stocks. Can I retire early with a paid off house at 35 years old with a family of four? So for me, what's been holding me back about financial independence, retiring early, is the fact that I have the unknown of the cost of what it takes to raise children. And ideally, I want two children and hopefully, they are healthy. But that fear of the unknown has been holding me back a lot. But one day I just decided to ask ChatGPT to make it known so that once you kind of know how much it costs, it's not as intimidating, right? As we kind of break it down through here. So basically, ChatGPT is saying, you have $7 million in assets, so 5 million from real estate equity, 2 million in stocks, and a paid off house. So realistically, for me, it would be about $4 million in real estate equity as in rental properties, and I have to sell one rental property and take roughly $1 million of equity to pay off my primary residence to have a paid off house. So basically, you know, ChatGPT is saying it's possible, but it depends on your cash flow from your rentals and obviously your withdrawal strategy, assuming the 4% rule, and kind of your desired lifestyle. And this is assuming for a family of four in California, so Southern California, where the cost of living is higher than most areas. So here, there's a nice table. So a quick snapshot, right? So real estate equity, 5 million. Is this cash flowing rentals or your home? So for me, it's all cash flowing rentals right now. And realistically, I have to sell a property that is cash flow neutral. So it breaks even and use that equity after paying capital gains tax, after paying depreciation recapture, and basically using that to pay off my primary residence, which would wipe off a $5,500 per month mortgage, which is my largest expense right now. So realistically, it's going to be $4 million in rental real estate. But what's nice is I'm selling a property that essentially breaks even. So I'm not losing cash flow. So I'll still cash flow, $10,000 a month from my portfolio despite selling this. And I would essentially wipe off my mortgage. So next is a stock portfolio. So it's 2 million. So this is kind of alluding to the 4% rule. So, and then here, primary residence, once again, no mortgage, no rent, big advantage. I still have to pay property tax. I still have to pay HOA. I still have to pay for my insurance, and I still have to pay for utilities, which comes out to be about $2,000 a month for me right now. And $7 million net worth, which is a strong position at age 35. And I asked ChatGPT, what percentile would I be in? And they say I'm in the top 1%, which is kind of mind blowing to think about. So here, they're breaking down the expenses roughly for a family of four in California. So higher cost of living, assuming a paid off house. And it comes out to be about 100 to 130,000, which I think it's very reasonable given that Christine and I are very frugal. We're very conscious in how we spend. And we're very intentional in how we live our life. Like we have as much fun eating high-end food as we do street food, taco trucks. We have as much fun doing free things as we do, paid things, right? And, we like to travel, so we don't compromise really on traveling, but, we may not stay in a 5-star hotel. Maybe we'll stay in a 3 or 4-star hotel, or we'd like to travel to Southeast Asia, where you can get a nice hotel for like $50 a night, right? So I would say this 110, 130 is very reasonable with the paid off house. And, here it's saying, let's add a buffer for inflation and, lifestyle inflation. So about 150K a year draw to be safe, to basically, live I'd say a upper middle class lifestyle, like what we would as two pharmacists, and not have to work or make work really optional. So here it's going to ask, okay, can my assets support that? So this is what, ChatGPT made this response in like literally less than a minute, which is scary. Like ChatGPT is almost like a financial counselor and a second set of eyes for me. But here, so as I alluded to, using the 4% rule, which is, highly touted as the way to retire. If you listen to a lot of podcasts, So you take 4% of 2 million, that's roughly $8,000 a year. If I want to be even more conservative with a 3.5% rule, that's about 70,000 per year. But I've been hearing that some people have been doing the 5% rule. So with the 5% rule, I can get $100,000 per year. So let's just stick with the 4% rule for now. That's $8,000 a year. So here, my real estate portfolio, assuming rental income. So if I have $5 million in real estate, remember, real estate gets to be $4 million because I need to sell a property to pay off my house I'm living in. But they're assuming I'm grossing about $300K per year. My portfolio, I believe, grosses around $50K per year or per month. So it's about 600,000. And after expenses, it's assuming, in taxes about 20K, 200K a year net passive income. Once again, I don't think that factors in a mortgage. So, for me, I gross about $600,000 and I would take home about $120,000, which is 10K per year on average. And this is not if it's 120K, but let's say if I minus money for reserves, it's going to be less than that. So let's just be conservative and just say I have about $100,000. $1,000 will be set aside for reserves for a rainy day every year. So basically they're saying if I don't have rental properties and I have a lot of real estate equity, consider selling some, like doing a 1031 exchange and go to a more cash flow market. So for me, I have a lot of high equity single family homes in California. And obviously they're breaking even, maybe slightly cash flow negative, despite me self-managing. And they built up a lot of equity, like $500,000 plus. So I could 1031 exchange that and buy in a cash flowing market like Oklahoma, where I can buy more apartments, or I could buy more new construction in Huntsville, Alabama. And from there, they're making so many new construction, but each one rents out for like roughly 1,900 to 2,000. So I could potentially sell a property where maybe I'm making, let's just call it $8,000 a month, but maybe after expenses, I net 1,000. But this one has $100,000 of equity in there. I could 1031 exchange that and go buy, what is that, like 5 single family homes in Huntsville, Alabama, and gross $10,000 a month. And maybe I will net, let's just call it $2,000 a month, assuming $400 a month in cash flow after everything. So that's a possibility, right? Or I could, which I'm kind of leaning towards, is sell a property. Instead of buying more properties, just sell that property and then use that equity to pay off some apartments. So it would increase my position to invest. So for example, I could sell my first home I bought in 2017, use that equity to pay off my primary residence, have no mortgage, and sell my second home that I bought in 2019, and then use that equity to essentially pay off my 20-unit apartment and my 26-unit apartment. And they don't have much debt on them because I bought them so well. And that would essentially wipe off about $5,000 of debt, which increased my cash flow by $5,000 a month. So imagine I pay off my primary, I'm saving close to $6,000 a month. And if I were to sell another property, I would essentially I would increase my cash flow by another $5,000 a month. So that's almost an increase in cash flow of about $11,000 per month, which is significant, right? And I can do both these moves just by selling 2 properties. So that's the financial flexibility that I have. So here, it broke down the 2 scenarios. So scenario A, assuming that real estate is producing income. I'm getting 8,000 from stocks, assuming the 4% rule. So once again, if you want to do 5% rule, it's 100,000. And then from real estate, it says I'm getting about 150K a year, which I think is a little bit too high. Like once again, like I right now make 120K. And if you factor in reserves, let's just call it 100K. So here, they say I have 230, but I think I have about 180. And remember, my expenses were 150. So I have, and 150 is very high end lifestyle for Christine and I. So that's a little bit over, like that's 12K a month. And, when we kind of thought about it, like 12K a month to live off of, assuming 150, 2,000 goes to our living expense. So I have $10,000 to basically between health insurance, cell phone bills, whatever activities we do, whatever we travel, going out, buying things, groceries, car insurance, gas. We don't spend much money on gas because I have a Tesla and I charge and I have solar. And Christine, her commute isn't that far. So like we don't spend much on like gas, and I don't have to do oil changes anymore. So like our expenses are like relatively pretty low. Like we don't even need a gym membership because where we live, there's a community gym. So we were just thinking like 150K is like living pretty lavishly for us. Like that's us doing more than we're currently doing, like more activities. I guess, kids have activities. And I think when I asked ChatGPT how much it costs to raise 2 kids in Los Angeles, California, a high cost of living area, it averaged out to be about $2,000 per month per kid. So if we want two, that's about $4,000 per month per kid. So, if I have 12,000, 2,000 goes to my rent, 4,000 goes to my kids. That's 6,000. So I have $6,000 left to basically, for me, Christine, and whatever additional travels we want to do. So I think it's very reasonable, but my portfolio in this example can comfortably, produce about $180,000 a year. So I even have a $30,000 buffer on top of that, which is like that's a 15K per month. And like I kind of alluded earlier, like I could literally make some moves. So in this situation, I have to sell my first property, pay off my primary residence to make this comfortable for us because my mortgage is almost like 5,000, $5,500 per month. So it's, roughly, I don't know, 65, 67K per year that I can wipe off in terms of expenses. But like I said, if I were to sell a property, so I cash flow $10,000 a month. If I were to sell my property that cash flows $1,000 a month, and use the equity to pay off my 2 apartment complex debt, I would basically be losing $1,000 in cash flow. So I'm dropping down to 9,000. But by paying off both my apartments, so my 26 unit has a $2,000 per month mortgage payment, and then my 20 unit has a 2,600 payment. So let's just call it 5,000 for easy math. So I would lose 1,000 in cash flow by selling this property. I would lose a good interest rate. I would lose leverage, and then I could basically wipe off $5,000 a month in debt, which increased my cash flow by 5,000. So I go from 10,000 to 9,000, but plus another 5,000. So that's $14,000. And if he times that by 12, I think that's roughly $160,000. I think. Double check my math, but roughly it's $160,000. So just by making those moves, just my real estate cash flow of 160K can cover my living expense of 150K. And whatever I withdraw from the 4% rule is kind of like the cherry on top, or it's kind of the buffer because, hey, theoretically I should cash flow, let's 14K per month, but things happen. Expenses happen. So, between the 4% rule and my real estate income can cover most of my expense, but I might have to withdraw from my stock portfolio if my real estate is not performing that month. Maybe I have a tenant that doesn't pay. Maybe I have, a major repair I have to do. But just by wiping off debt off the table, it increases my cash flow significantly, right? So here, scenario B is, if I just have stocks and real estate, obviously it's saying that, off the 4% rule of my 2 million, $80,000 a month isn't enough. So like I said, I have a combination of real estate and the 4% rule for my portfolio. So conclusion, yes, I can retire at 35 with a paid off house and a $7 million net worth if my real estate generate income, which it is, right? Like obviously I could 1031 exchange my properties to get more cash flowing properties, but I think my best move, if I'm being honest, is to, if I were to sell one property, pay off my primary, no more mortgage, more debt free, more peace of mind. Number two is I need to sell my second property, which I self manage, and then use that to pay off my apartment complexes, and then that will juice up my cash flow from 10K a month to up to 15K per month. So at that point, that's a really good lifestyle, and that'll be like my foundation in terms of real estate. And then once I have this like foundational income of 14K per month, I'm not going to spend it all. I already know, right? And I'm still working right now. So I can save money and stack money and buy real estate using larger down payments, right? And what I would love to do is, buy 10 single family homes in Huntsville, Alabama, like hopefully 10 through creative financing or doing large money down where I can save money. Ideally creative financing so you can leverage, but I'd love to sell half and then hopefully they appreciate it. So sell half and use that half to pay off the other half. And now I have more paid off real estate to make me in a stronger position. And what I would do is I would kind of do this new construction burr strategy. So basically, okay, so imagine I paid off my primary residence. And let's just say for simplicity, the primary residence is worth $1 million, which is the average in, Southern California, or lower end average, if I'm being honest. And I put a HELOC on it. So I can probably get a 70% HELOC on it. So that's $700,000. what I can do is I can offer these builders cash in a quick close and just say, hey, you're listing your property for $300,000 and I can do a quick close, buy cash because I'm using my HELOC and negotiate, hey, like, can you give me like a 10% break? And sometimes they do, especially if they're desperate to meet their quarterly quotas, like Lennar, DR Horton, they have to meet, quarterly quotas for their shareholders. I just will say, hey, I will pay you 300,000. I'll pay you cash. Here's my proof of funds. Give me a 10% discount or 15% discount. So let's just say they drop me down to, 270 when it's worth 300. So what I do is I'll buy it, and then basically if I could buy it at a discount of 10%, 15%, right? Maybe. So I'm basically buying with 15% equity day one. And what I would do is I'd rent out that property. And then, after a few months or a year or two, what I would do is I would do a cash out refinance to get a loan that allows 85% loan to value. Those do exist, but your interest rate's probably gonna be higher and your amortization maybe not 30 years, but maybe 25 years or 20 years. So hopefully if you buy it right and it still cash flows enough, I can do a cash out refinance, pull out my money that I use for my HELOC, pull out that money, most of it, and use it to pay off the HELOC on my primary residence. And then, maybe I still have a little bit on my HELOC, which I can pay off, but that property should be able to cash flow enough. So I'm buying this deal leveraged. I'm buying it at a lower cost basis. I'm able to strike fast because I have a HELOC. And then basically once I pay off that HELOC, so let's just say I put 270K down and let's just say it's worth $300,000, right? So if I'm able to buy it at a 50% discount, so let me pull up my calculator. So I have $300,000, right? So if I'm buying it at 85%, I'm buying it, let's just call it 260. So I'm getting or 255K. And at that point, I'm gonna do a cash out refinance. So hopefully, it's gonna appraise higher than what they sell for. So if let's just say I bought it at a 15% discount because I buy cash, new construction burr. So my purchase price is 255K. And let's just say in a year after, like, let's just say, or hopefully 6 months to 12 months, it's now worth, let's just make up a number. Let's do 320. So I'm going to take 255, then divide that by 320. And essentially I'm at 80% loan to value, which is good because I can basically do an 80% cash out refinance, right? Or 75% cash out refinance and basically pull out my 255K, and then use that to pay off the HELOC. And then basically I put no money in the deal and hopefully the deal still cash flows. But let's just say I can't do that. And let's just say I can only pull out 75%. So I'm basically leaving 5% of the money in the deal. So basically 5% would roughly be about $16,000. So I would be leaving $16,000 in the deal, which I'm not going to be mad about, right? Like I don't mind, if the property is cash flowing or over time I work a job, I just can pay out a 16K HELOC and, call it a day, right? So that's kind of the new construction burst strategy I want to do once I pay off a house and maybe I can like stack these properties up, right? Like if I can get like 10 of these properties and they can like cash flow a little bit every single month. I don't care for massive cash flow, but just enough to self-sustain the portfolio. Like if these 10 can self-sustain, and then over time, I want to hold this for 10, 15 years. And then hopefully the construction is over. And that's when the home prices will start to skyrocket, right? That's how it works in new build communities. And then you basically sell half and then pay off the other half. And now you own 5 free and clear. So you're in a lot stronger of a position. So that's kind of something that I would like to do. So anyways, hopefully you found value from this video. I just wanted to show you how ChatGPT analyzed my financial situation and basically is telling me that I can basically retire early if I live off 150K a year. And my current, between the 4% rule of my $2 million portfolio and assuming I'm cash flowing, 120K a year. So that's about $200,000 total with 50K of buffers. I only need 150K to live off of, which is reasonable because, real estate income is not as stable. I can basically retire right now with the paid off house. So basically if I want to retire, I just sell a house. And then, at that point, working is optional for Christine and I. Anyways, if you want to learn to buy multifamily real estate and to put yourself in a position similar to mine, click on my link tree down below. From there, you can see links to my coaching, my courses, and you can send me an email there as well if you want a discount code or you have questions. Once again, let me know what questions you have. Hopefully you found value from this video. You like this format. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much.